So, good afternoon. Today we are going to start the second chapter of our economics part, that is sectors of Indian economy. In our previous chapter, we have discussed the development method, development, growth, sustainable development. Now the question arises ki how does the development take place, growth take place in any country. When we talk of development, we know that economic activities to be taken place. So the first question comes with economic activities. The activities which are used to exchange in the market for earning livelihood, that is money, is called economic activities. There are so many activities in which the producers are not getting any return. That means they are producing those goods not because of the market but for their self-consumption. Often in the previous mode of agrarian economy, we have seen that the farmers were producing goods for their self-consumption, that is not going into the market, and because they were not going into the market, they were not getting the return, the exchange and the money. So the activities which are bringing money in exchange of goods or services is called economic activities. Now, what are the economic activities, or how many types of economic activities are there? We can see that economic activities can be classified into three categories, three sectors, on the basis of purpose and scope, source, in advancing economic interest of the country. And in this, we see that it can be divided into three: on the basis of nature of economic activity, on the basis of nature of employment, on the basis of ownership of entrepreneurship. Today, we will limit our discussion only onto the basis of nature of economic activity. On the basis of nature of economic activity, the economic activity can be divided into three parts on the basis of nature of economic activity: primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. Primary sector, secondary sector or tertiary sector. Primary sector, the sector in which the natural goods are produced. There is just the expansion of the original resources. Think of agriculture, think of fishing, think of forestry, think of mining. Everything is remained. You cannot get wheat from the paddy seeds. You cannot get guava from mango seeds. Whatever is there, that same natural commodity, natural crop, is going into some expanded or extended form. Coals are there under the soil. We are just excavating them. We have not created those resources. That is the primary sector or agricultural sector. So once again, the sector in which natural goods are produced. Second is secondary sector, the sector in which primary sector goods are transformed into some other output. When the iron ore is excavated from the soil and that is being converted into a wheel, a railway wagon wheel, so the basic material was from the agricultural sector, but it has changed, it has transformed its shape, character, and this is called the secondary sector. Therefore, it is also called the industrial sector or manufacturing sector. And thirdly, we see that tertiary sector or service sector. The sector in which we see that they are not producing anything. They are not going to produce anything. They are coordinating the products of primary and secondary sector. How? When we see that the products are there and market and people are there in some other place, how do they be related? The goods must be reached to the hands of the people. For that, transport is needed, communication is needed, banking is needed, linkage is needed. These many things are done by the service sector. When we talk about the teacher, the professor, the doctor, the astronauts, the scientists, the bankers, pilot, policemen, they all are serving the nation in different forms. So service sector is providing service and doing the coordination between the primary and secondary sector. So after knowing these three sectors, question will arise in our mind, is these sectors are independent or they are interdependent? That is sectoral interdependence. We can, if we apply our common sense, we can understand that there is huge amount of interdependence. No economy can stand on its own without the support of other sectors. The agricultural sector needs the equipment. Agricultural sector needs different machines, fertilizers, crops, seeds. These are all things. Although seeds, yes, nowadays even the HYB seeds. So these are all mechanized process. So they are depending upon the industrial sector. At the same time, it is seen that the industrial sector is needing the raw materials which is coming from the agricultural sector. When you talk of mango juice, agro-based industry, so if there is no mango, how the mango juice will come? The soybean oil, if there is no mustard seed or soybean seed, how can we get the refined oil or mustard oil? Now the third sector, unless there is good transporting system, communication system, banking system, shops, market, well maintained network of distribution centers, how can we think that commodities are produced in the industry or in the agriculture sector be coming up to the hands of others? So these three sectors are interdependent. So now the question will arise, what is final goods and services? The goods and services which are purchased by the ultimate buyers, not having any purpose of direct physical transformation, that is, they are not using those things as input for final output, is called the final goods. So when you are purchasing the biscuit, that biscuit is your final goods. But intermediate goods, the goods which are used for producing the final goods. When the flour, wheat and other edible oil and so many things are purchased by the biscuit company and they are manufacturing the biscuit, those all raw materials are nothing but the intermediate goods. Then comes the gross domestic product. Gross domestic product is the sum of money value of goods and services of goods and services produced in a country. The money value of all goods and services produced in a country, and it is calculated by the CSO, Central Statistical Organization. Okay, Central Statistical Organization is collecting the they are maintaining this calculation. Now we are coming to this part, that is rising importance of tertiary sector. As day progresses, last 3-4 decades, we see that India's GDP is coming more and more from the from the tertiary sector. Now the question arises, why? The first point is there is need for basic services. After 60s, we know that India becomes self-sufficient. As a result, need of basic services have increased a lot. The basic services like health, education, banks, law and order, defense, administration, these all are the responsibility of the government, and government can never devoid of these duties and responsibilities. So these services have to be provided to the citizen by the government, and therefore the need of service sector goes on increasing. Secondly, need for agricultural and industrial development increase the need for more and more storage facilities, training facilities, banking facilities, and market facilities. And for having a good access to market, good transport and communication system. These all are being done. And in order to do this, obviously the need for service sector has increased. Third thing, change in outlook. We cannot deny in modern India or modern world that people are having some varied need which was not present few years back. Nowadays we people are willing to have art, we can say it's as a hobby, it's as a fashion or as a passion, that tourism, eating out, spending more time for entertainment, availing better education, and for that private education system, private healthcare system, these kind of activities with which we are very much familiar. Nowadays we think these are a part and parcel of our life. Okay, for that huge need for service sector. Okay, next, introduction of this IT sector, information technology sector, the booming bird of industrial arena is this information technology. And we are really fortunate that we Indians are quite ahead in this. Because of this information technology, the business process overseas, BPO, online activities, online shopping, online marketing, e-learning, ticketing, etc. All this electronics system with which you are very much familiar. ATM counters, maintenance, network business, all these have created huge field for livelihood as well as new scope of income opportunities. These all, because of that also, the service sector is having huge expansion. So because of these four factors, need for basic services, need for agricultural and industrial development, change in outlook and introduction of IT sector, we see that there is a sea change in the contribution of service sector into the GDP. But at the same time, we should not forget two very basic limitations. Tertiary sector or the service sector needs educated, specialized, skilled, talented and qualified labor force. Obviously, these are highly dependent upon the machine and therefore less of manpower is required. As a result, the employment percentage, the contribution of human being into labor force is reduced. This is one big factor, that there is less manpower requirement, and because of that, although GDP contribution has increased, but the employment generation scopes have been reduced, squeezed. Secondly, the discrimination among the workers. We often see under the service sector, it is not that all are getting the white collar job. What is white collar job? White collar job resembles those jobs in which we are using more and more of our mental power and we are getting huge amount in return. When we talk of IT specialists, when we talk of doctor, engineers, professors, any bankers, chartered accountant, these all professionals or the big showroom, these kind of people are having huge amount of money. They are enjoying all fields of life. Those are white collar job. At the same time, millions and millions are struggling hard to survive. Just think of the conditions of the mechanics, the technical support staffs, the transport support staffs, and most of the jobs of theirs are casual in nature. That is no permanency of their job. Anytime this can be taken out from them. So they are struggling hard to survive not only from the economic point of view but also from their livelihood options, because if they will leave, they will force to leave the existing livelihood option, they do not know what kind of livelihood option is available for them. Just think of a typist. Now the typewriter is obsolete. We all are working everything with the computers. Now the person who was a typist, either he had to acquire the knowledge of computing or he will be completely out of this arena. That means he will be out of service, he will become unemployed. So it is not so simple that if a person will become unemployed, the entire problem will be switched over to some other part, because it will accelerate the problem, accentuate the problem, because a person earning unit, on the earning unit there are other people dependent upon them. So those people will also become helpless. So this is the importance of tertiary sector on their contribution into gross domestic product, but the limitation is that it uses less manpower as it requires skilled and qualified human capital, and the discrimination coming out of this. So with this we are going to end today's discussion, and tomorrow in our next class we will discuss about this rising importance and the underemployment.